Hey everyone, welcome to the first Agent Gateway community meeting. So we're very excited to kick off the first one. I don't think everybody knows everybody. Maybe it makes sense just give 15 seconds for a quick intro. What do you all think? All right, I'll start
Sounds
first.
good.
I'll start first and pass to the next person. So if you all can pass to one person you choose, that would be great. So my name is Lynn. I work at Solo. I'm also a CNCF TOC member and ambassador. I'm going to pass the mic to John.
Hey, I'm John. I also work at Solo. I currently also work on Istio a lot, but I've been doing a lot of development on Agent Gateway. My bad. We'll go to Yuval.
Yeah, sure. I'm Yuval. Here, the chief architect here at Solo. I'm also involved in a lot of projects, K-Agent, K-Gateway, a little bit of Istio every now and then. How about Ed?
Hi, I'm Ed. I'm from IBM Research. I have previously worked on Istio and other networking products. Passing it on to Michael.
I'm a senior solutions or our systems architect at Zayo. We do infrastructure, fiber in the ground. And this is my first community project. So you get the injustice of having to deal with some of my noob stuff. I been doing it for many years, but not in a community like this. So.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Is it Carlos?
I'll go. Or Carlos.
Okay.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I have to do the first one to do that. Carlos Santana, work in AWS as a EKS solutions architect. I'm a CNCF ambassador. I've been involved with a lot of projects in CNCF. I'm a SIG lead for Argo CD scalability, and I've done other CNCF projects like Kubernetes and Knative. And I'm working on Strands, Kubernetes, and a project called Canoe on AI platform engineering.
Awesome. Welcome.
EDT.
Hi guys, I'm Indeed. I'm working at Solo as well, and I was one of the people who started that project. I'm very excited to meet you all. Where am I going to move to?
Three?
Yeah. Is this?
Three, are you talking if you're muted? I couldn't see.
Oh, sorry. I sorry about that. Sri Arajula. I'm platform engineering architect at Cisco, outshift by Cisco. Based in Dallas, Texas area, and I'm part of Canoe community as well. I'm one of the maintainers of the AI platform engineering. Excited to learn about Agent Gateway.
Awesome, welcome. And I think that we have Pietro.
Piotr, hi. So I'm a head of platform engineering in Shell. So I am more on the user side using these two kind of tools, right? And we are currently implementing platform AI based on the KCP project, which is kind of similar to what we're going to discuss here. And I would like to learn more, about what it is, how it works, and so on. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. And Mitch, I think you just joined. We'll just give a quick intro, Mitch, if you could. Okay, maybe you're muted too, Mitch. Actually, maybe he dropped off. Okay, I think we hit everybody. Did I miss anybody?
I was missed.
Oh, yes, Sebastian. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, maybe naming. So sorry. Hello, I'm Sebastian. I'm platform engineer, an independent one. Basically, I'm doing what I find interesting, and recently I'm contributing to K-Agent, and just wanted to jump in to get more familiar about Agent Gateway. Yeah, nice to meet you all.
Awesome, welcome.
Maybe maybe Ethan.
Oh yeah.
I'll go real quick. I'm Shane. I work at Red Hat. I'm one of the architects for OpenShift networking and a lead of SIG Network. And I'm here because my life is all AI all the time now.
Oh, nice.
Same boat. AI all the time from now on.
All the time.
All right. Did we miss anybody? All right. I think I tried to take some notes, so feel free to suggest anything I missed. Today, we're here to discuss the roadmap. Particularly, we want to hear from the community on what items you have in mind. We certainly have a few we have in mind as well, but we want to hear from you all first, and then everyone is welcome to pile in, basically.
Hey, so if nobody wants to talk, I'll just I'll start us out here. Hey, so obviously you've got a number of projects under Solo AI, and there's always a danger with multiple projects that they'll start to be a scope creep where the main team and maintainer can't keep everything together because everything's so disparate across projects. So when I asked for roadmap, I was hoping that there would be some things coming down from Solo IO that would help us to unify it, but also make it easier for you as the maintainers and for all of us to be on the same page with certain things. Like, so, E2E testing, the whole list of things that we could have as a framework to work in. I'm comfortable with some oversight in that regard. Personally, I feel like that benefits us from a project perspective and lets us focus on the downstream details from there.
No, this is great. This is great feedback. And it's not that we don't want to create the roadmap. What we wanted to do is hear your thoughts first and then create the roadmap together as a team, which is why we didn't actually went in and share a draft with you. So yeah, it's so actually, I just saw a comment about project status update. So maybe we spend a few minutes on project status update, then jump back to the roadmap. John, do you want to provide a quick update?
Yeah, definitely. So there's quite a few things that have been happening in the last month. For those that have been around Agent Gateway since day zero, it had originally started out as really a pretty fine scoped MCP proxy, largely a little bit of A2A, but mostly MCP. Since then, we've had kind of a big revision that makes it a full-blown, kind of more standard reverse proxy that handles kind of a lot of different areas. So we still have all the MCP stuff, which we've updated as well to all the newest specs. So all the streamable HTTP stuff, that's not that new anymore, but et cetera. We still have A2A as well. We started adding LLM consumption things as well. So using it as a proxy to reach like OpenAI or Bedrock or Anthropic. In that area, we have kind of a universal API, which is becoming pretty common in the space where all the requests come in using a standardized API, which happens to be OpenAI's API. And then we can translate that to the different providers so that you don't have to worry about what provider you're using. On top of that, you get things like rate limiting based on tokens. Visibility, obviously, is table stakes. So you get like logs and traces where you can see the full prompt and completions and token counts and whatnot. You can analyze pricing, that sort of thing. As well as like guardrails, so you can block, someone leaking your credit cards, that sort of thing. There's mention that there's no docs on this. Yes, the docs are definitely slightly lagging behind the feature implementation, which is something that we should probably put on the roadmap. So that's a good call out for sure. For some context, like the docs we had originally had as like the original MCP scope, and then we added all this other scope and kind of updated the existing docs, but didn't add too many new docs. So we need to go backfill some of those. Outside of AI stuff, one thing we've seen a lot is that, just because you're doing AI things doesn't mean you don't need the other things that you've always needed for HTTP. Like, maybe I want to do header manipulation, path-based routing, rate limiting, telemetry, authorization, job validation, all these types of things, right? So we've built kind of a more standard configurable reverse proxy setup. That's kind of, you do all the standard stuff, and then at the end you decide, okay, this is an MCP service, so we'll go into the MCP specific things, or this is an LLM call, so we go on the LLM specific behavior. Today, this all is working in kind of a local environment where you have a configuration file that can be modified by you directly or through the UI that can modify this. We also have, which is still a bit more in development, Kubernetes support, where everything is driven by Kubernetes objects with full gateway API support, and then as well as K-gateway APIs for additional features that aren't in the core, especially around the AI stuff that there's no features in core. That part's close. We have and it's not merged in a K-gateway released yet, but it's in the K-gateway merge in a branch for the base, HTTP route, gateway, that sort of thing. The AI and other policies and whatnot is still being worked on, but that's pretty close behind, I think. That's high level. I mean, I think that covers most of the things. So yeah, definitely a lot going on.
Yeah. John, do you think maybe you can share about why we even did this in the get-go? And also, yeah.
Yeah, so like, we have originally, like, we're Solo as very heavily involved in Envoy. We've built a lot of products around Envoy over the years. And we had tried to do a lot of things with AI and Envoy, as a lot of other people have tried to do as well. And we were just constantly hitting walls around what we could do. And so we were spending more time fighting with Envoy rather than building features for our users, and especially in the AI space. Pace of innovation is very important, right? Like one day A2A spec came out, and we were like, whoa, like this is probably the next big thing. We need to go adopt that. The same day we had basic, but initial support for A2A, which is something like we would be fighting for months on Envoy to be able to figure out how to do that sort of thing. It's not so much that we don't like Envoy anymore. We still use Envoy. We still
sell Envoy even.
Sell Envoy, yes. Like, we are very committed to Envoy.
Yeah.
But Envoy is not necessarily the right fit for the types of things we're doing in Agent Gateway, especially around MCP. So some of the things like this virtualization of MCP servers that we're supporting, where we expose many servers as one kind of unified front. You have a call coming in from one HTTP request in, and we fan that out to all these MCP servers. That's something I'm sure it's possible to do in Envoy. Like, don't get me wrong, anything like can be done with enough time and effort, but it's something that's very much mismatched with like kind of the way that Envoy was designed and expected to be used. And so some of our experience in the past with Istio, when we had we made kind of a novel-ish usage of Envoy. For those that are familiar, like Istio has this component called ztunnel that does things a lot differently than a typical Envoy reverse proxy usage. And we had initially built an Envoy, and it was just like we were constantly like pulling our hair out. And eventually we decided to make a new special purpose proxy for that, and we saw a lot of good experience with that. So Agent Gateways, in many ways, taking those lessons we learned from that and then applying them to the AI space. So.
I remember the story of us wasting like 6 months or a year on Istio Ambient doing Envoy-based ztunnel. So it's great we can leverage the license here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah. Yuval probably has also some war story about trying, Ethan and Yuval, about trying to make Envoy as our AI gateway. A lot of the assumption that Envoy is making on the architecture, it's basically mean that you need to rebuild it. Yeah.
Something close that I did with Envoy, it's not open source, so unfortunately I can't show you the code, but I've built a GraphQL ability to Envoy, which in a similar way needs to kind of multiplex one request to multiple backend. It took weeks to build what would take days, right? So
yeah. But also for AI and read-write stuff, maybe you can share a bit more. So. But I think you get the picture.
Yep. Carlos.
Yeah, so I understand the learnings about Envoy and Envoy being difficult. What about the protocol to configure it, like XTS? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do you want to keep it? Is something better? Because I know it's K-gateway conversation, but it's in Agent Gateway. I'm guessing it will have an XDS API that could be configured without Kubernetes, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. One thing just to clarify, Envoy or XDS is really kind of two parts. There's the transport protocol, which is a generic way to send arbitrary protobuf messages. And it's pretty lightweight. Like it's really just a little bit of metadata around a blob of data. And then there's the Envoy types that they use over XDS in Envoy itself. So things like clusters, listeners, routes, endpoints, those sort of things. So we use only the transport protocol, not the types. We have our own types that are specialized to Agent Gateway. The reason we use XDS is largely because it does exactly what we need, and it's very simple, and it's somewhat standardized to some extent. And so we didn't feel the need to reinvent the wheel there, right? We could have done something different, but it would look exactly like XDS in the end anyway, so why bother, right? I mean, there's some somewhat standardized libraries and tooling around the generic part of the XDS that's pretty handy to keep. The reason we didn't use the Envoy types is for similar reasons to why we didn't use Envoy itself, right? The types aren't closely mapped towards what we want to do. So one example that I think is a really canonical example that we run into all the time when programming Envoy is on like the user-facing side. Say I want to apply a policy that's like to a route, for example. But then in Envoy, that concept is configured on the service. And so we have this really big friction of like, how do we get this thing that a user said to attach here, but in the practice, it has to be attached here in the data plane, and how do we translate that? And now what happens if there's two routes pointing to that same service? Like now we have this service, but it needs to be duplicated and things like that. Or another one is like, I have a global policy that's something like set the TLS minimum version. Envoy doesn't have a global setting for that. It has a per service one. So a user changes one little flag, and suddenly we have to blast out to everyone like thousands and thousands of times this new service definition. And so they just make this innocent little change, and suddenly their CPU usage across their cluster just like goes through the roof, right? So by having the data structure really closely mapping from what the user does to what the proxy does all the way to the end, it's not only really simple to understand because and write like a control plane, because like I go look at the configuration, it looks very close to what I actually wrote as a human, instead of like having to do like all these crazy translations in your head from like this config to that config. It's also really efficient because if I change one thing as a human, and that's changing like 50 bytes or whatever, we just need to plumb down 50 new bytes to the data plane rather than like sending the whole info. I can just show a picture that will make this more concrete. Here's an example of the control plane and data plane CPU memory usage of a test where we just added a bunch of routes and services basically. It's a little small on the screen, but you almost can't even see the Agent Gateway line, which is the yellow line, versus the Envoy line, just because of like the issues I talked about there. So we've seen pretty substantial benefits by using our own types, which again, like we did the exact same thing in zTunnel, and we saw the exact same benefits there. Yeah, Carlos.
Yeah, thank you. I think that clarifies, and also somebody was watching the recording also clarifies for them. The next question that you're showing this is, I have not seen the source code for Agent Gateway, sorry, but I was wondering if it's taking something from zTunnel, either code, learnings, or actual libraries of like zTunnel. It's been out for a while. It seems that it's robust. It's using in production at scale. Is Agent Gateway can get that claim also kind of for free of like reusing some of that code, or it's just starting from scratch?
Yeah, so zTunnel was so like I wrote a substantial portion of both the code bases. We took zTunnel and then stripped out the stuff that doesn't make sense and then added the stuff that does make sense. So in some sense, you could say it's a fork of zTunnel. But there's a lot of code that's specific to zTunnel things that doesn't apply to Agent Gateway. So I would say we have maybe 15% of overlap max there. The learnings, absolutely. Like they're structured the same way. We took all of the learnings. We use a substantial amount of code. In the interest of getting things done and not making churn on the Istio project itself, like zTunnel is not consumable as a library. So we didn't import it as a library, we copied it. It's something that potentially we can go factor out and have these use one shared library between the two projects. So we don't have that, but it's not the state currently. But yeah, absolutely, like some code overlap, definitely the learnings. Like if we hadn't done zTunnel, I don't think we would have been able to do Agent Gateway, or at least not in the way we did it. So, and they do use, like, aside from like directly using zTunnel, like they do rely on the same underlying technologies in terms of like Rust libraries, like Tokyo, Hyper, those sorts of things. So
Okay, that was clarification. Thank you.
yeah.
All right, I see we have a couple of questions. Does anybody have more thoughts around something they would love to see on the roadmap before we jump to more questions a little bit down below? I think, Carlos, you added this, right? Get started UX theme to simplify the experience. Is that what?
The getting started UX theme, and also had a question around if you have a GitHub project board today of like it feels you're asking something that we have a plain, like there's nothing exists. So
no,
if you have something, and then if I see something, if I see a board with a theme, then I can have opinions of like what's missing. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we are having this conversation, so we can, capture the important requirements from the community on the board.
So you have a board and it's empty, literally, if we open it now in GitHub?
I don't think we set up a board yet, John.
Okay, so that was my question. Like, set up a board and it looks like it's empty, and we can start putting things in buckets. I would say not specific thing, but in buckets. And one bucket is the getting started user experience, which I have feedback because I started with new eyes of like, I'm a new person. I don't know what Agent Gateway is. I started using the docs, and that's how I started contributing, like fixing a little doc here. Didn't see anything about any. Is the project as Agent Gateway? I didn't see any agent code at all. Like no line chain, no strands, no agent. So I was like, "Where's the agent?" So I added an example of an agent. And I think there was a 828 protocol. It's not really an agent. It's not using an ARM. So that was the user experience. So I can create more add-ins for the backlog. But the overall bucket will be user experience, right? Theme versus performance versus security versus MCP multiplexing versus A2A versus sticky sections. Could be a different bucket. So I think we can start with buckets and then start like what will be the things in each bucket.
Yeah, I like that. We'll get that organized. Yeah. Jack, I think you had your hand for a while.
Yeah, so I actually saw John mention like who here cares about Kates versus non-Kates, and I'm assuming his question is like sorry, I'll answer it differently. I plan to host it on Kates, but I also care a lot about like people, like I guess developers, humans, maybe not even like business folks, accessing the gateway from a non-Kates interface, right? Like just consuming the gateway. And I think a lot of the focus for the groups, at least in my organization right now, are just having an easy way to get like a view into all things possible with AI, because like everyone's so like scattered brain around like what the use cases are, and it's super important for people to just be able to see what's available. And that's I guess that goes back to the UX kind of thing. I missed that part of the call, so maybe this has been answered already, but like a lot of the projects are using like, like if you have Docker images, they're hosted in a Docker registry. If you have like an IDP like Backstage, you get a holistic view about all the applications you can deploy and stuff. And I feel like Agent Gateway can be like the repository or registry of like your AI tools, whether it be MCPs or agents or whatever.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Because definitely, I think like to go into like what Carlos said, I think today we have a lot of building blocks, but we don't have a lot of solutions yet, or at least documented. So I think that that'll be something that we really need to focus on.
Yeah. I want to add one more thing that is important to us. So I think important to you, to everybody, is that right now, I think that Michael mentioned that this is a solo project, but this is not going to be a solo project for very long. I mean, we're actually working right now with the Linux Foundation, and we are going to donate it to the Linux Foundation as soon as possible. So just want to make sure that you guys are aware of it, that we're working on the paperwork as we speak. So this is something that will happen very, very rapidly and very soon. As I think that Jack just mentioned, we believe that this is not only a Kubernetes, it doesn't have to be only for Kubernetes user, it can be also for anybody. So this is why we're working with the Linux Foundation to basically donate it to them immediately, that other people will be able to consume. So yeah, I mean, just FYI on this, this is not going to, yeah, like the idea is to build a big community around it. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome. I think, Michael, you had a hand. Did you purpose to put it down? Or?
There's a lot of conversation. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay, just checking. And Carlos, you had another hand, or was it from
yeah, just a comment to Edith's point on does not have to be just for Kubernetes. It's just an idea, right? Crazy idea. Usually the one that comes from crazy ideas is an experiment that this project can do is make Kubernetes second, meaning that if this project on the surface and the welcoming and the primary use case are not Kubernetes, just this is just experiment. My hypothesis, it will be that it will be more successful if we start with this is a project for Kubernetes. And that will be my 2 cents, if that makes sense. Because the reach of agentic AI projects to do apps that are agentic are bigger than the people configuring Kubernetes. So if people come in here, and this is what I like about the project so far, no mention of Kubernetes. I think I was talking to PRs today in Slack, and I said, like, there's no Kubernetes in Agent Gateway. I keep saying there's no Kubernetes here. Like, go to K Gateway and you can consume it but here we're just talking about a very small component that is super easy, that you can help you unblock all these things that you're trying to do and you cannot do. So it can run from Raspberry Pi to your laptop, to your IDE, to VS Code, in your browser, Chrome, like can run anywhere. We make it ubiquitous. And Kubernetes, like, there's no Kubernetes here, go to K Gateway. This is just a crazy idea of an experiment, of an hypothesis, right? An experiment, you have an hypothesis, and then I can be proven wrong, or we learn from it. With my 2 cents.
To be fair, this is exactly what was our vision for it. I mean, there's a reason why it's in a different repository, but you just put it in K Gateway, because we felt that should be bigger. And I can tell you that there was already a lot of people interested in putting it as part of a STL as a waypoint. So we'll work with people to do this, and we will donate and contribute as much as we can. So yeah, and this is, yes, it's Kubernetes because it's STL, but in the point what I'm trying to say is that yeah, I mean, that's exactly was our vision.
Oh, sorry. My question is actually around K Gateway, since it was mentioned. I think there's a lot of confusion right now on if Agent Gateway is supposed to be used with K Gateway. I think it's also because, like, there's like a AI gateway and like a MCP gateway in the docs, and then that's what people gravitate towards first. But and I think there's a release coming, right? Like, it's being actively worked on, so I'm assuming that solves everything. But just as an FYI, some like random peers who have like ventured off their own and looked at all the solutions out there, they're a lot of them are quite confused about where everything fits and how.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And it's like it's a timing issue for sure. I can briefly summarize like the what is the truth versus what is confusing in the docs. So initially, Agent Gateway was called MCP Gateway, and there was very early support in K-Gateway. So that's when you look at K-Gateway and MCP Gateway, that's what that is. And then initially, we also had an AI gateway built on Envoy, which is where we learned a lot of the friction points. So in the upcoming release of K-Gateway, both of those will be replaced with Agent Gateway. And it will behave differently than like if you go follow the MCP Gateway docs today, which is a little rough and using the old Agent Gateway. So the future would be that if you want to run Agent Gateway on Kubernetes, you can always, of course, just package it in a Docker image and apply a config map for your config. That's fine. But if you want to do the full Kubernetes experience of like I use Gateway API and HTTP route and CRDs and things, then you would use K-Gateway as a control plane for Agent Gateway. And then the relationship between K-Gateway and Agent Gateway is like K-Gateway and Envoy, right? They're separate projects, but one configures the other one.
Gotcha.
All right. I think this summarizes the answer to this question. Hopefully it's pretty clear. Yeah, very sorry about the confusing and also the naming changing. Well, blame on Google. They had A2A right after we initially had the name of MCP Gateway. So we want to adopt A2A as well. So that's the changing of the name. All right, I think we are right on time. This has been a very interesting discussion. So we have this set up to every week. So next week, we will continue the discussion. And I know we have a couple of questions not fully answered. I think, Surya, you added some of these. So we would love to get to those next time too. In the meanwhile, if you all have any questions or if you want document access to this doc, just request the access to it because so I don't have to accept your change. And also feel free to engage with us on the Discord for any questions you have in between. We really appreciate you all joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice meeting everyone.
Yeah, nice meeting everyone. See you all next week. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.